Alright, so hello, welcome to my video. In this video, I would just, examine some of the compositions that I have searched based on my personalities in ChatGPT as a part of this assignment. So, some of the personalities you see I've put here, and this is just the list that of the compositions that ChatGPT recommended me. So in the first section, I would just show you the little pieces of these musical compositions, but I'm not gonna play them all because later on there's gonna be a video that I'm going to explain the composition that I pick in more detail, and that's what is going to be the longer part. So this is the one that I picked. Hello, Ajahn. Hello, everyone. So after listening to all the compositions, I've decided to go with Arvo Pärt composition called Spiritual. First, I'd like to reflect a little bit about why I chose this piece compared to all other pieces, from Mozart to Beethoven. And I would want to reflect on my own experience. So I consider myself a very spiritual person. So this song clicks with me immediately for its meditative and relaxing nature, which I'll explain more in later parts. I love the pieces of music, any piece of music that is very slow, almost homophonic, because if it's too fast or too dramatic, I easily get overwhelmed. So this composition has a soothing effect on me immediately, and I'm sure that it would have the same effect on anyone who listened to it. It's almost as if I could listen to it and daydream about a better place. It makes me want to just, close my eyes and envision myself just laying on a field of grass on a cloudy day with dandelions laying around me. It gives me a sense of surrealism for its texture and soft nature of the composition, and in another way of saying, it makes me feel as if I'm immersed in that magical world, and that's what I love. And perhaps that magical world is somewhere in heaven, or even a deeper place, like the place after death. So yes, today I'm analyzing Spiegel. Spiegel, one of the most famous works by the Estonian composer Arvo Pärt. So Pärt was born in 1935 and considered one of the most influential living composers of classical music, and he is also a very spiritual person, a very spiritual composer. He later also invented his own signature style called tintinnabuli. This means little bells in Latin. So his music since has been marked by simplicity, purity, and a very meditative, almost timeless quality. So many people describe it as spiritual minimalism, and I haven't listened to other compositions of him yet, but listening to this composition, I could totally agree with why people describe his style of music as a sense of spiritual minimalism, because it's simple, it's classic, yet it delivers a sense of elegance, and it's also not elegant like in Mozart or like Beethoven, but it's very unique. It's almost like a daydream, so that's why it's spiritual. So with that background in mind, let's take a look at spiritual and spiritual through 6 musical elements: pitch, rhythm, tone color, texture, dynamics, and accompaniment. Right, first let's start with the pitch. So the melodic line in spiritual and spiritual is very simple. It moves slowly up and down the scale. So instead of like a large leaps or dramatic gestures, the melody feels like it's walking very soothingly, one step at a time. It creates a sense of calm, inevitable calmness, like I have mentioned before. So harmonically, the composer uses his famous tintinnabuli technique. This means that one voice moves step by step through the scale while another outlines the tonic triad. So together they form a sound that doesn't rely on any traditional harmonic progression. Instead, it feels suspended, timeless, and meditative. So the second element to examine is the rhythm. So the tempo in this composition, I see that I could feel that the tempo is very slow. It's almost like the pace of natural breathing. So like as you are listening to it right now, you can also feel it. It paces very slowly, and then sometimes you can even imagine that yes, it matches to the natural rhythm of our breath. So nothing is rushed, and the slowness kind of invites listener to enter the like a meditative state. So this meter is usually in simple time, like the 3/4 or the 4/4, like what we're talking about the baritone here. The strong beats are de-emphasized, just as you're listening. So instead of feeling like a march with accents, right, it feels more of like a floating effect. The third element to examine is the tone color, the timbre. So it is an essential part of Pot's spiritual sound. So like in Spiritual, I'm Spiritual, is often performed with violin and piano, just like the composition that I'm turning on right now is the tone color is merely just the piano and the violin, right? Like playing together. But then in some research, like this composition has also been played using the cello and piano, right? So the piano, of course, it gives that soft and bell-like tones, and it gives like a longer resonances to the composition, while the violin or the cello carries the melody with more warmth and lyricism. So in general, the way, because like when we talk about piano and violin, and with the way that the composers direct the playing as well, it makes it feel very lyrical and soft. So together, the use of these two instruments create like a transparent and glass-like sound world. This actually reflects Pot's spiritual intention, because if you listen to it, the more you listen to it, you would feel almost weightless, because the way that the combination of musical instruments playing together in like a very slow pace, it makes it seems like floating. Then the fourth element we'll talk about the texture. Right, so the texture of this piece is very thin and transparent. So most of the time, like mentioned like earlier in the introduction, is a very homophonic piece, right? So there's only one melodic line and one tintinnabuli line, like the little bells, like technique that he used. So there are no thick chords, no complex counterpoint, and instead there's just a sense of openness, as if like silence is itself a part of the composition, right? It fills in that void, and it makes it more of filling. And then the dialogue between the melody and the tritones creates a meditative interaction. So the stillness and space between the notes are as important as the notes themselves. right? Since they only use he only uses this homophonic technique. And then the fifth point is the dynamic. So, of course, just as you already know, that you judging from the listening, the dynamic in this piece is very subtle. So most of the time, the music stays soft. It never goes fast, and it keeps the sequence keeps being similar from moment to moment. So there isn't any part that particularly rush or becomes too fast, too overwhelming. It's just like the soft combination between the piano and yeah. So there are no sudden loud outbursts or dramatic swells, right? It's like more of like a gentle waves. And then the last point that I'm going to talk about is accompanies. So so how the music is accompanied by the music is I feel like it's accompanied by the articulation. So the notes are played very legato, so smooth, it's sustained, and there are no sharp accents to the compositions, right? There's no hardcore interruptions, but the performers emphasize more on the purity of the tone, allowing the sound to resonate naturally. So so even though this composition seems very simple, this classical piece seems very simple compared to other classic composers like Mozart or Beethoven, right? It reminds me a little bit of Chopin, because Chopin is some of the compositions that I've listened from him are actually kind of soft and homophonic like this piece as well. But this is on another level of softness. So that's why altogether these elements makes it very spiritual. That's what I would say. So to surmise everything, the reason why I like this composition is because of its simplicity and spirituality, which of course speaks to my personality. So I hope that you like this presentation, and yeah, I genuinely love this. So thank you for listening.